The night is quiet. A low wind moves gently across the land, brushing over tall grass that bends and rises again without a sound. The sky above is wide and dark, filled with slow-moving clouds that drift past faint stars. Somewhere far away, water touches the shore in a soft and steady rhythm. There is no hurry here. No noise of cities. No bright lights. Only the quiet breath of the earth itself, resting. And as you settle in, letting your thoughts slow down, we begin to drift backward in time. Not quickly, not all at once, but gently, like stepping into a calm and distant memory. We arrive in a small settlement in the north. The air is cool, even in the warmer months. The ground is uneven, covered in patches of grass and soil that has been worked by careful hands. Wooden buildings stand low against the landscape, their roofs heavy with turf and earth, blending into the land as if they have grown there. This is the home of a Viking farmer. He is not a warrior, not a king, not a figure of legend. He is something quieter. Something steady. He wakes before the sun. Not because he must rush, but because the rhythm of the land asks it of him. The darkness of early morning is not empty. It is soft and full, like a blanket resting over the world. Inside his home, the air is still. The longhouse is built from timber, its walls thick and strong. The roof above is layered with wood and sod, holding in warmth from the fire that has burned low through the night. The faint scent of smoke lingers in the air, mixed with the smell of earth, wool, and dried herbs. He opens his eyes slowly. There is no sudden movement. He listens first. The quiet breathing of others nearby. The faint crackle of embers. The distant sound of wind touching the walls. For a moment, he simply lies there. Then, with a calm and practiced motion, he rises. The floor beneath him is firm, made of packed earth. It feels cool against his feet. He reaches for his clothing, simple garments made from wool and linen, shaped by hand and worn with time. Each movement is unhurried. There is no need to rush the morning. Outside, the sky is beginning to change. A faint gray light spreads slowly along the horizon, soft and gentle, like a quiet promise. He steps out into the early air. It is cold, but not harsh. The kind of cold that wakes the body slowly. The land stretches out before him, fields lying still, waiting. There is work to be done, but not yet. For now, there is only the morning. He walks a short distance from the house, his steps steady and familiar. The ground holds the memory of many seasons. It is not smooth, but it is known to him. Nearby, animals begin to stir. A low sound from cattle. The shifting of sheep. The soft cluck of chickens waking in their enclosure. These sounds are gentle, part of the rhythm of life here. He pauses and looks out across the land. There is no grand thought in this moment. No plan spoken aloud. Only a quiet understanding of what the day will bring, shaped by weather, by season, by the needs of the land and the animals. The sky grows a little lighter. A pale glow spreads upward, slowly revealing the shapes of hills and trees in the distance. The world comes into view piece by piece, never all at once. He takes a slow breath. The air smells of damp soil and grass, with a faint trace of smoke from the hearth behind him. This is how every day begins. Not with urgency, but with quiet attention. He turns back toward the longhouse. Inside, others are beginning to wake. There is soft movement now. The rustle of fabric. The low murmur of voices not yet fully awake. The fire is stirred. A small flame returns, growing carefully as dry wood is added. The warmth begins to spread again, pushing back the coolness of the early morning. Food is simple. There is no elaborate preparation. A pot may be warmed, holding porridge made from grains that have been stored carefully. Bread, dense and firm, may be broken and shared. He sits. The meal is not rushed. Each bite is slow, steady, enough to prepare for the work ahead. There is no excess, only what is needed. Outside, the light continues to grow. The day is beginning, but gently. And soon, he will step out again. Not as a man beginning his day in haste, but as part of the land itself. Moving with it, working with it, living within its quiet, steady rhythm. The warmth of the fire settles gently into the room. It does not rush. It does not flare too brightly. It simply grows, little by little, as the wood takes the flame and holds it. The soft light touches the wooden walls, the beams overhead, the quiet shapes of people moving slowly through the morning. The farmer remains seated for a while. There is no need to stand too soon. The food is simple, but it is enough. The steady warmth of the porridge, the dense texture of the bread, the calm rhythm of eating without hurry, all of it prepares the body in a quiet and natural way. Around him, the others move in familiar patterns. No one speaks loudly. There is no sharp sound. Only the low murmur of voices, the shifting of benches, the soft placing of wooden bowls. Outside, the light continues to rise. It spreads across the land like a thin veil being lifted. The fields begin to show their texture. The edges of fences become clear. The distant line of trees takes shape against the pale sky. The farmer stands. His movements are steady, as they have always been. There is no wasted motion. Each action has been learned over many seasons, repeated so often that it no longer requires thought. He steps once more toward the doorway. The air greets him again, cool and clean. The morning has fully arrived now, though the sun itself is still low, resting just above the horizon. A thin mist lies close to the ground. It moves slowly, almost as if it is breathing. It drifts between the grasses and along the edges of the fields, softening the world, quieting it even further. He walks toward the animals. Their presence is calm. They do not startle at his approach. They know the sound of his steps, the shape of his routine. This, too, has been repeated many times. The cattle shift their weight as he nears. Their breath is visible in the cool air, rising in small clouds that fade almost as soon as they appear. Their eyes are steady. Their bodies warm and solid. He reaches out a hand. There is no sudden motion. Only a slow and familiar touch. This is part of the morning. Checking, observing, noticing small changes. The way an animal stands. The sound it makes. The quiet signals that tell him all is well, or that something needs care. Nearby, the sheep move in a gentle cluster. Their wool is thick, slightly damp from the morning air. They make soft sounds, barely louder than the wind itself. The farmer moves among them without disturbance. There is a rhythm here. Not written, not spoken, but deeply known. He opens a simple enclosure. The wood creaks softly as it moves. The sound is not sharp, but worn and familiar, like the voice of something that has been used for many years. The animals begin to move. Slowly at first. Then with quiet purpose. They step out into the open, guided not by force, but by habit. They know where to go. They know the fields that will receive them. The farmer walks alongside them. Not ahead. Not behind. Simply near. The ground beneath his feet is slightly damp. The soil holds the memory of rain from days before. Each step leaves a faint mark that will fade as the day passes. The mist begins to lift. It does not vanish all at once. It thins, slowly rising into the air, revealing more of the land as it goes. The sun climbs a little higher. Its light is soft, not yet strong. It touches the tops of the grass, the wooden fences, the roof of the longhouse behind him. Everything seems to wake at its own pace. There is no command. No signal that forces the day forward. It simply unfolds. The animals reach the field. They begin to graze almost immediately. Heads lower. Movement slows. The quiet sound of feeding replaces the stillness of early morning. The farmer stands for a moment and watches. There is nothing urgent here. Only the simple act of making sure all is as it should be. He turns his attention to the land itself. The fields are not large, but they are carefully kept. Each section has its purpose. Each patch of soil has been worked, rested, and worked again over many seasons. He walks along the edge. His eyes move slowly across the ground. He notices small things. The way the soil feels beneath his foot. The color of the earth. The presence of moisture or dryness. The early signs of growth pushing up from below. These are not thoughts that come in words. They are understood in a quieter way. Through repetition. Through time. He kneels. The movement is slow, deliberate. His hand touches the soil. It is cool, slightly rough, holding both firmness and softness at once. He presses gently, feeling its texture, its readiness. This is how he knows what must be done. Not through calculation, but through presence. The wind moves again. It carries a faint scent of water from somewhere beyond the fields. Perhaps a stream, moving slowly over stones. Perhaps a distant shore where the sea rests against the land. The sound is barely there. Just enough to be noticed. He rises again. The day continues. There are tools to gather. Work to begin. But still, there is no hurry. He walks back toward the longhouse, where simple tools rest against the wall. Wooden handles worn smooth by years of use. Metal edges shaped carefully, maintained with quiet attention. He selects what he needs. Not many things. Only what the day asks for. A hoe, perhaps. Or a simple digging tool. Something to turn the soil, to guide its readiness. He carries it with ease. The weight is familiar. The balance known. And as he returns to the field, the sun continues its slow climb, the light spreading wider, touching more of the land with each passing moment. The mist is nearly gone now. The world is clear. Open. Calm. He steps into the field once more. And begins. The first movement is simple. The tool enters the soil with a soft resistance. The earth gives way slowly, turning, shifting, opening itself. There is a quiet sound. Not loud. Just the gentle breaking of soil. He repeats the motion. Again. And again. Each movement the same. Each breath steady. There is no need to think ahead. Only to continue. The rhythm builds, but it remains soft. A pattern of movement that does not demand attention, but allows the mind to settle, to drift even as the body works. The sun rises higher. The air warms slightly. But still, the day moves at its own pace. And the farmer remains within it. Not pushing forward. Not falling behind. simply moving, as the land moves. Slowly. Steadily. Without end. The soil turns in quiet layers beneath his hands. Each motion is steady, almost gentle, as though he is not breaking the earth, but simply guiding it into a new shape. The tool rises and falls with a soft rhythm, and the sound it makes is low and even, blending with the wind and the distant movement of animals. There is no sharp edge to the morning. Everything feels rounded, softened by time and repetition. The farmer continues. He does not measure his progress in distance or speed. The field does not ask for that. It only asks for presence, for patience, for the quiet agreement between hands and earth. The sun climbs a little more. Its warmth begins to settle on his shoulders, not strong, but noticeable now. The coolness of the early morning eases, and the air becomes softer, easier to breathe. A bird moves across the sky. Its wings cut silently through the pale blue, tracing a path that leaves no mark behind. For a moment, the farmer's gaze follows it, not with curiosity, but with simple awareness. Then, just as gently, his attention returns to the soil. The work continues. The ground changes slowly as he moves forward. Darker soil rises from below, richer and slightly damp. It holds a deeper scent, one that lingers in the air when turned. This scent is familiar. It does not stand out. It belongs here. He pauses for a moment. Not from tiredness, but from habit. A brief stillness, where the body rests without fully stopping. The tool remains in his hands, its weight constant, its surface worn smooth from years of use. He looks across the field again. The animals remain calm. The cattle have spread out, moving slowly as they graze. The sheep stay closer together, their small movements creating a quiet shifting pattern across the grass. Nothing is hurried. Nothing is forced. The land holds everything in a steady balance. The farmer takes another breath. Then he continues. The repetition is soft. Almost like a quiet echo that never quite fades. The tool enters the earth. The soil lifts and turns. The body shifts. The breath follows. Again. And again. Time passes, but it does not feel like passing. It simply settles. The light grows stronger, though still gentle. Shadows shorten slightly, drawing closer to the objects that cast them. The edges of things become clearer, more defined. Somewhere nearby, a faint sound of wood tapping against wood can be heard. Perhaps another member of the household beginning their own work. Repairing something small. Adjusting what has worn over time. These sounds are part of the day. They do not interrupt. They belong. The farmer reaches the end of one section of the field. He does not stop completely. Instead, he turns slowly, repositioning himself without thought. The next row waits, no different from the last, and yet it feels new in its own quiet way. He begins again. The rhythm resumes without effort. The body remembers. The hands know. A light breeze passes through. It moves across the open land, touching everything lightly. The grass bends, then rises again. The edges of his clothing shift gently, then settle. The air carries faint traces of life. Dry grass. Warm soil. A distant hint of water. None of it is strong. All of it is steady. The farmer works through it all without resistance. He is not separate from these things. He moves within them. The sun rises higher still. The warmth deepens, though it remains soft enough to be comforting. The coolness of the morning has not disappeared entirely, but it now lingers only in the shadows, in the quiet spaces where the light has not yet reached. Sweat forms slowly at his brow. Not in discomfort, but as part of the effort. He does not wipe it away immediately. There is no urgency. It is simply there. Time continues to unfold. The field changes, row by row. What was once untouched soil becomes turned and open, ready for what will come next. Seeds may be placed later, or perhaps this is part of a longer preparation, one step in a cycle that repeats across seasons. Nothing happens all at once. Everything builds slowly. The farmer pauses again. This time, he straightens his back slightly, allowing the body to rest in a different way. His gaze moves once more across the land, not searching, not analyzing, simply noticing. The longhouse stands in the distance. Its shape is low and steady, just as it was in the early morning. Smoke rises faintly from its opening, drifting upward and then fading into the sky. It feels far, but not distant. It is part of the same rhythm. A place of rest, of warmth, of quiet return. He takes a few slow steps along the edge of the field. Not leaving the work, but shifting within it. The ground here is slightly firmer. Less recently turned. The texture under his feet changes just enough to be felt. He bends again. And continues. The movement is almost like breathing now. In. Out. Down. Lift. Turn. Step. Again. There is no need for thought to guide it. The body carries the pattern forward on its own. The sky above is now fully awake. A soft blue stretches outward, with thin clouds drifting slowly across it. They move at a pace that is easy to miss unless one watches for a long time. Everything here rewards patience. The longer one remains still, the more becomes visible. A small insect moves across the soil. Its path is uncertain, but steady in its own way. It climbs over small ridges of earth, disappears briefly into a shadow, then emerges again. The farmer notices it, but does not react. There is space for all things here. Nothing needs to be disturbed. The work continues. The sound of the tool against the earth remains soft and consistent. It does not grow louder or sharper. It stays within a narrow range, almost like a quiet hum that blends into the background of the day. The animals shift again. A cow lifts its head briefly, looking toward the field, then lowers it once more. The sheep drift slightly as a group, adjusting their position without any clear reason. These movements are small, but they are constant. Life here is not still. It simply moves gently. The farmer reaches another edge. Another turn. Another beginning. And so the day continues. Not marked by hours. Not divided by urgency. But carried forward by small, steady actions that repeat, soften, and repeat again. The sun rises. The land warms. The soil opens. And the farmer remains within it all, moving quietly, steadily, as the morning slowly becomes something more. The morning settles more deeply into the land. The light is no longer pale. It has grown fuller now, though it still carries a softness that rests gently on everything it touches. The field holds that light in quiet stillness, and the turned soil reflects a deeper tone, darker and slightly warm. The farmer continues his work. His pace has not changed. There is no need for it to change. Each movement follows the last with the same calm certainty. The tool presses into the ground, lifts, and turns the soil in a steady motion that has become almost effortless. The body adjusts naturally, shifting weight from one foot to the other, keeping balance without thought. The rhythm is constant. It is not something he listens to. It is something he becomes. A faint sound begins to drift from the direction of the longhouse. It is soft, carried lightly by the air. The low murmur of voices, perhaps. The quiet movement of daily tasks continuing within its walls. Wood being handled, footsteps across the packed earth floor, the gentle placing of objects. These sounds remain distant. They do not pull his attention away. They simply exist, like the wind or the movement of clouds. The farmer pauses again. This time, he lowers the tool to his side and straightens slowly. His back settles into stillness, and for a moment, the only movement is the quiet rise and fall of his breath. He looks toward the horizon. The land stretches outward in soft layers. Small rises and dips in the ground create a gentle pattern, leading the eye toward the distant hills. The sky above is calm, its blue deepening as the sun continues its steady climb. There is no urgency in what he sees. Only space. He shifts his weight slightly, allowing his body to rest without fully stopping. One hand rests loosely against the handle of the tool, fingers relaxed, not gripping. A light breeze passes again. It moves across his face, carrying a hint of warmth now. The cool edge of the morning has softened further, and the air feels balanced, neither cold nor warm, but somewhere in between. The animals continue to graze. Their movements are slow and scattered. They have spread out more now, each one following its own quiet path through the grass. Occasionally, one will lift its head, listening to something unseen, then return to feeding. Nothing disturbs them. The farmer bends once more. The work resumes. The soil here is slightly different. It is firmer, less damp than the earlier section. The tool meets a bit more resistance, and the motion requires a touch more pressure. But the change is small, and the body adjusts without effort. He continues. The repetition remains steady. Each movement blends into the next, forming a quiet chain of actions that stretches forward without a clear beginning or end. The sun rises higher. The light grows stronger, though it still carries a gentle quality. It does not press down harshly. It simply fills the space, touching every surface with even care. Shadows shorten further. They gather closer to the base of objects, becoming less noticeable, less defined. The world feels open. Uncovered. The farmer works through it all. His breathing is slow. Even. There is no strain. Only the natural effort of movement repeated over time. A small cluster of clouds drifts across the sky. They move at a pace so slow it is almost invisible. Their shapes shift slightly as they pass, softening at the edges, stretching and reforming in quiet ways. He does not look up at them now. His attention remains with the ground. The soil continues to turn. The field continues to change. What was once untouched becomes prepared, ready in a way that cannot be rushed. Time moves, but it does not feel like time. It feels like continuation. The farmer pauses once more. This time, he steps away from the row he has been working. Just a few steps, enough to stand at the edge and look back across what has been done. The lines in the soil are subtle. Not perfectly straight, not measured by tools of precision, but shaped by the steady motion of hands and the natural flow of the body. There is a quiet satisfaction here. Not spoken. Not celebrated. Simply felt. He remains still for a moment longer. Then he turns. The field still stretches ahead. There is more to do. and so, without hesitation, he returns to the work. The tool lifts. The soil turns. The rhythm continues. A faint sound of wings passes nearby. A bird moves low across the field, briefly crossing his path before continuing on. Its presence is momentary, leaving no trace behind. The farmer does not follow it with his eyes this time. He remains within his movement. The air grows slightly warmer. The shift is gradual, barely noticeable unless one pays close attention. The scent of the land changes with it. The dampness of early morning gives way to something drier, lighter. The smell of turned earth remains, but it becomes softer, less pronounced. The wind quiets. For a time, the air feels still. The only movement comes from the farmer, the animals, and the slow drift of clouds above. It is enough. The work continues. Again. And again. The body does not tire in a sudden way. It simply carries on. The repetition supports it. The steadiness holds it. And as the sun moves higher in the sky, the morning deepens into something calmer still. Not an ending. Not a peak. Just a quiet continuation, as the farmer remains within the rhythm of the land, moving gently forward without ever needing to rush. The light continues to settle across the field. It no longer feels like morning in the way it once did. The softness remains, but there is a quiet fullness now, as if the day has gently opened and stretched into itself. The farmer works on. The steady motion of his body has become something almost weightless. Not because the work is easy, but because it is known. The tool moves as it always has, guided by hands that do not hesitate. The soil gives, then rests. Gives, then rests. Again and again. The sound is low and even, like a soft rhythm that does not call attention to itself. A small change moves through the air. It is subtle. A warmth that lingers just a little longer against the skin. The kind of warmth that does not press, but stays. It settles on his shoulders, along his arms, and into the quiet space around him. He pauses once more. This time, he lets the tool rest fully against the ground. His hands release it gently, and his fingers relax, opening slightly as the tension leaves them. He does not step away. He simply stands, allowing his body to be still. His breath slows. It deepens in a quiet, natural way. He looks out again. The field behind him shows the slow progress of the morning. The turned soil forms a soft pattern across the land, darker than the untouched ground, carrying the faint trace of his movement. The animals remain scattered. Their shapes shift slowly across the grass, never in a straight line, never in a rush. They move as they always do, guided by something simple and steady. The sky above is open. The clouds have thinned, leaving long stretches of clear blue. The sun sits higher now, its light spreading without obstruction. There is no sharpness in it. Only a quiet brightness. The farmer bends again, but not to return to the same task. Instead, he reaches toward a small object resting near the edge of the field. A simple wooden container, worn smooth by time, holding a small amount of water. He lifts it slowly. The motion is careful, not because it is fragile, but because it is part of the rhythm. Nothing here is done quickly. He brings it to his lips. The water is cool. It carries the faint taste of the land, drawn from a nearby source, held in wood that has absorbed many seasons. He drinks slowly. There is no urgency. Each moment stretches, quiet and complete. When he finishes, he lowers the container and sets it back in its place. The wood touches the ground with a soft sound, almost lost in the open air. He remains still for a moment longer. Then, without thought, he reaches again for the tool. The work resumes. But now, it feels slightly different. Not in effort, not in motion, but in the quiet shift that comes as the day moves forward. The early stillness of morning has given way to a deeper calm, one that holds the warmth and light together. The soil continues to turn. The rows extend. The field slowly transforms. A faint sound rises again from the direction of the longhouse. This time, it is slightly clearer. The movement of daily life has begun to spread outward. Perhaps someone steps outside, their feet brushing lightly against the ground. Perhaps a door opens, then closes again with a soft wooden sound. The farmer does not turn. He remains where he is. These sounds are not distractions. They are part of the same quiet world. The wind returns, but gently. It moves across the field in a slow wave, touching the grass, the animals, the farmer himself. It carries with it a softness, a calm that blends into everything else. The rhythm continues. Down. Lift. Turn. Step. Again. The body moves without strain. The breath follows. Time drifts. There is no counting of hours. No marking of progress beyond what is seen in the soil itself. The sun rises higher still. The light now rests fully across the land, leaving very little in shadow. The shapes of things are clear, steady, and unchanging. The farmer pauses once more. This time, he steps back from the row and turns slightly, allowing himself to face the open field. He stands with the tool resting lightly in his hand. There is no tension in his posture. Only a quiet presence. He listens. Not for anything specific. Just for what is there. The distant sound of animals. The soft movement of wind. The quiet space between each sound. It is enough. He remains like this for a short while. Then, as naturally as before, he turns again. There is still more to be done. The work does not demand urgency. It simply continues. He steps forward. The tool lowers. The soil opens once more. And the rhythm returns, unchanged, steady, and calm, carrying him gently through the slow unfolding of the day. The day continues to open in a quiet and steady way. Nothing shifts suddenly. Nothing asks for attention. The farmer remains within his work, moving as he has since the first light touched the land. The repetition has deepened now, settling into something even calmer, as if each motion is supported by all the ones that came before it. The soil beneath his tool grows softer again. This part of the field holds more moisture. The earth turns more easily here, folding over itself with less resistance. The sound it makes is quieter, almost like a soft breath. He adjusts without thinking. There is no need to pause. The body understands. The sun rests higher above now. Its warmth is clearer, though still gentle. It does not press down heavily, but it lingers longer on the skin, settling into the rhythm of the day just as everything else has. The farmer continues. His hands move in the same pattern. His steps follow. The ground changes slowly beneath him. Behind him, the field carries the quiet marks of his work. Not sharp lines, not perfect shapes, but something softer. Something shaped by time and repetition rather than precision. A distant sound of movement grows slightly closer. Footsteps, perhaps. Light and unhurried. They move across the ground from the direction of the longhouse, approaching slowly without urgency. The farmer does not turn immediately. He continues his work for a few more moments, allowing the sound to exist without interruption. Then, as naturally as everything else, he pauses. He straightens, letting the tool rest against the soil once more. He turns his head slightly. Another figure approaches. The steps are familiar. There is no surprise. No change in the calm of the morning. The figure moves at an easy pace, carrying something small, perhaps wrapped in cloth. The shape is simple, held carefully but without strain. As the figure comes closer, the details become clearer. Clothing made from wool, shaped in the same quiet way as his own. Movements that reflect the same rhythm, the same understanding of the day. They reach the edge of the field. There is no greeting spoken loudly. Only a small acknowledgement, a quiet presence shared between them. The object is offered. It is food. Simple, as always. Perhaps a piece of bread, slightly firm but still fresh enough to carry warmth from the fire. Perhaps a small portion of something prepared earlier, wrapped to keep it from the air. The farmer accepts it with a gentle motion. There is no rush to eat. The moment is allowed to settle. The other figure remains for a short while. Standing beside him. Looking out across the field. There is no need for many words. The land speaks enough on its own. After a quiet pause, the figure turns and begins to walk back toward the longhouse. The steps fade slowly into the distance. The farmer remains where he is. He holds the food for a moment longer, then sits. The ground is firm beneath him. He lowers himself carefully, not as a break from effort, but as part of the natural flow of the day. The field stretches before him. The animals continue their quiet movement. The sky remains open and still. He begins to eat. Each bite is slow. Measured. The taste is simple. Grain, perhaps a hint of salt, something preserved from earlier seasons. There is no variety. No excess. Only what is needed. He eats without distraction. There is no rush to return to work. The body takes this time as it needs it. The breeze passes again. It moves across the field and over him, carrying the scent of grass and soil. It cools the skin slightly, balancing the warmth of the sun. He finishes the food. The last bite is as quiet as the first. There is no change in the rhythm. Only continuation. He rests for a moment longer. His hands settle in his lap. His gaze moves gently across the land. There is nothing new to see. And yet, everything feels present. After a time, he rises. The movement is slow and steady. There is no stiffness. No resistance. The body returns to its work without hesitation. He takes the tool once more. The weight feels the same. The balance unchanged. He steps back into the row. The soil waits. The motion begins again. Down. Lift. Turn. Step. Again. The rhythm returns as if it had never paused. The day continues. The sun holds its place in the sky, slowly climbing, though its movement is too gradual to notice moment by moment. The field grows. The work spreads. The quiet persists. Nothing interrupts. Nothing demands more than what is given. The farmer remains within it all. Steady. Present. Moving gently forward as the day deepens, carrying him along in its slow and unbroken flow. The afternoon begins to take shape, though it does not arrive with any clear boundary. It simply grows out of what was already there. The light shifts in a way that is almost too gentle to notice. It becomes slightly fuller, slightly warmer, resting more deeply on the land. The shadows, though still soft, begin to stretch just a little, reaching outward in quiet lines. The farmer continues his work. There is no change in his pace. The rhythm remains as it has been since the morning, steady and even, carried forward without effort. The tool moves through the soil, lifting and turning, shaping the ground in the same calm pattern. The field has changed. A larger portion now carries the darker tone of freshly turned earth. It spreads behind him like a soft patchwork, each section blending into the next without sharp edges. He steps forward again. The ground beneath his feet is slightly warmer now, holding the heat of the sun. It feels different from the cool firmness of the early morning, but the difference is quiet, not demanding. The air is still. The breeze has softened, coming and going in faint waves. When it passes, it brings a gentle movement to the grass and a slight cooling to the skin, but it never lingers long. The animals remain calm. They have moved farther across the field, spreading out in wider patterns. Their feeding continues without interruption, their slow steps creating a quiet, shifting presence across the land. From time to time, one will pause, lifting its head to look outward, then return to grazing as if nothing has changed. The farmer does not watch them closely now. He trusts the pattern. The familiarity of their movement, the quiet understanding built over many days, allows him to remain within his work without concern. The tool presses into the soil again. The motion repeats. There is a softness in the repetition. A steady unfolding of action that does not require attention, only presence. His breathing remains slow. Even. There is no strain in it. Only the natural rhythm that has settled into the body. The sun continues its gradual climb. Though it is higher now, it does not feel harsh. The light remains balanced, spreading evenly across the land, touching everything with the same quiet care. A faint sound drifts from beyond the field. It is distant, almost unclear. Perhaps the movement of water, carried from a stream or a distant shoreline. A soft, continuous sound that blends into the stillness without breaking it. The farmer pauses briefly. He lifts the tool and lets it rest lightly against his shoulder. His gaze moves across the horizon. The land stretches out, unchanged in its quiet form. The distant hills remain still, their outlines softened by the light. The sky above holds its calm, the few clouds drifting slowly without purpose. He takes a slow breath. The air feels slightly warmer now, carrying a dry, gentle scent. He lowers the tool again. The work resumes. The soil continues to turn. The field continues to change. Time moves, but it does not feel like movement. It feels like a deepening. The farmer reaches another section where the ground is uneven. Small stones lie just beneath the surface, hidden until the tool meets them. The sound changes slightly here, a faint resistance, a subtle shift in the rhythm. He adjusts. The movement becomes a little more careful, guiding the tool around the stones rather than forcing it through. Each adjustment is small, almost invisible, but it keeps the rhythm intact. He bends slightly more. The work continues. There is no frustration. No interruption. Only the quiet adaptation that comes from knowing the land. The stones are not removed. They remain where they are, part of the field, part of the work. The sun holds its place. The light remains steady. The air feels calm and open. A bird calls once, somewhere in the distance. The sound is soft and brief, fading quickly into the wide stillness. It does not echo. It does not linger. The farmer does not look up. He remains within his movement. The repetition carries him forward. Step. Press. Lift. Turn. Again. The body continues without thought. The mind rests. The field expands behind him, shaped slowly by his hands. There is no end in sight. Only continuation. The afternoon deepens quietly. The warmth settles further into the land. The light begins, ever so slightly, to soften again, though it is still strong enough to hold the day in full. The farmer pauses once more. He straightens his back, letting his arms rest at his sides. The tool stands still, its end touching the ground. He looks out again. The animals have drifted farther. The longhouse remains in the distance, unchanged. A faint line of smoke still rises, thinner now, barely visible against the sky. Everything holds its place. Nothing has been rushed. Nothing has been left undone. He remains still for a few moments longer. Then, without hesitation, he steps forward once more. The tool lowers. The soil opens. And the quiet rhythm continues, carrying him gently through the slow and steady unfolding of the afternoon. The afternoon settles more deeply into itself. The light, though still present and full, begins to soften at its edges. It no longer spreads with the same quiet brightness as before. Instead, it rests more gently on the land, as if it has begun to slow. The farmer continues. His movements remain unchanged. The rhythm of his work has carried him through the day without interruption, and it continues now, steady and calm. The tool meets the soil, turns it, and lifts again with the same quiet motion. The field stretches around him. Much of it now bears the marks of his labor. The darker soil lies open and ready, its surface uneven but gently shaped. It does not appear finished, but it does not feel incomplete. It simply is. The air has grown warmer, though not heavy. It wraps around him lightly, settling into the folds of his clothing, resting against his skin. The breeze returns from time to time, soft and passing, offering brief moments of coolness that come and go without notice. The animals have slowed. Their movement is even more gradual now, their grazing steady and unhurried. Some stand still for longer periods, resting in place before taking a few quiet steps and lowering their heads again. The farmer does not watch them closely. He knows their rhythm. It mirrors his own. The sun begins its slow descent. It is not yet low, but its path has turned. The shift is subtle, marked only by the faint lengthening of shadows and the slight change in the color of the light. The field reflects this change. The tones grow softer. The edges of things blur just a little. He continues his work. The tool moves as it always has. Down. Lift. Turn. Step. Again. There is no need to count how many times. There is no need to measure what remains. The work exists only in the present moment, carried forward without thought of beginning or end. A faint sound rises again from the direction of the longhouse. This time, it is quieter than before. Perhaps the movement there has slowed as well. The tasks within are nearing their own quiet pauses, their own gentle transitions. The farmer pauses. He lets the tool rest once more, its handle leaning lightly against his shoulder. He looks across the field. The land feels different now. Not in shape, not in form, but in tone. The stillness has deepened. The light has softened. The air carries a calm that is slightly heavier, slightly more settled than before. He takes a slow breath. The scent of the soil has changed again. It is warmer now, drier, but still holding that faint trace of life beneath the surface. He steps forward. The work resumes. The rhythm remains. There is comfort in its repetition. The body continues without strain. The hands move without hesitation. The soil responds in the same quiet way. A bird passes overhead once more. Its shadow crosses the ground briefly, a soft movement that fades almost as soon as it appears. The farmer does not look up. He remains within his work. The afternoon continues. The sun lowers slightly more. The light begins to take on a warmer tone, a gentle shift that spreads slowly across the land. It touches the field, the animals, the longhouse, giving everything a softer, deeper color. The shadows stretch a little longer. They reach across the ground in thin lines, following the shapes that create them. The farmer reaches another edge of the field. He pauses. He stands still, letting the moment settle around him. The tool rests in his hand. His gaze moves across the work that has been done. There is no sense of completion. Only a quiet awareness. He turns again. There is still more to do. And so, as naturally as before, he steps forward. The tool lowers. The soil opens. The rhythm continues. The air cools slightly as the sun lowers. The change is gentle, almost unnoticeable at first. A soft easing of the warmth, a quiet return of the coolness that once marked the morning. The breeze becomes a little more present. It moves across the field in longer, steadier waves, touching everything lightly. The animals begin to gather, though not all at once. Their movement shifts slowly, their paths drawing them closer together, guided by a pattern that has been followed many times before. The farmer continues to work. He does not rush to finish. He does not hurry to stop. He simply remains within the rhythm, allowing it to carry him forward as the day begins its slow and quiet descent. The light softens further. The field grows calmer. The sounds fade. And still, he moves, steady, quiet, and unbroken, as the afternoon gently begins to lean toward evening. The afternoon begins to lean softly toward evening. It does not arrive all at once. There is no clear moment when the change begins. Instead, the light slowly shifts, warming in tone, settling lower across the land. The brightness fades just slightly, replaced by something gentler, something more restful. The farmer continues his work. The rhythm has not changed. It remains steady, like a slow breath that has carried him through the entire day. The tool moves through the soil with the same quiet motion. The earth turns, opens, and rests. Behind him, the field holds the memory of his labor. Soft rows. Uneven, natural, shaped by repetition rather than precision. Each section carries a quiet sense of completion, even though the work itself continues. The air cools just a little. Not enough to notice at first. But slowly, gently, the warmth begins to ease. A soft breeze moves more often now, brushing across the field and through the grass, carrying a faint dryness with it. The farmer pauses. He stands still, letting the tool rest against the ground. His shoulders settle. His breath remains slow. He looks across the land. The animals have begun to shift. Their movement is different now. Not scattered as before, but slowly drawing inward. There is no sudden gathering, no call, or signal. Only a quiet understanding that moves through them, guiding them back. A cow lifts its head. It stands still for a moment, then begins to walk. Slow steps. Steady. Others follow, not all at once, but gradually, each one moving in its own time. The farmer watches for a moment. Then, just as gently, he returns to his work. The tool lowers again. The soil turns. The rhythm continues. The sun lowers further. The shadows stretch longer now, reaching across the field in soft lines. They move slowly, almost unnoticed, marking the passage of time without urgency. The light becomes warmer. A soft golden tone spreads across the land, touching everything with quiet warmth. The grass glows gently. The turned soil deepens in color. The longhouse in the distance seems to settle into the light, its shape calm and steady against the horizon. The farmer works a little longer. Not to finish. Not to complete. Only because the rhythm has not yet ended. His hands move as they always have. Down. Lift. Turn. Step. Again. But now, there is a softness to the movement. A quiet slowing. Not in pace, but in feeling. The day itself is beginning to rest. He pauses once more. This time, the pause lingers. He straightens fully, allowing his back to settle. The tool remains still in his hand, its weight familiar, but no longer active. He looks out across the field. The animals are closer now. Their slow gathering continues, forming a loose cluster that moves gently toward the edge of the grazing land. The breeze carries a different scent. Cooler. Softer. The warmth of the day begins to fade, replaced by the quiet freshness that comes with evening. The farmer takes a slow breath. Then, without hurry, he lowers the tool one final time. He finishes the row he has been working. Just that row. No more. When it is done, he does not begin another. Instead, he lifts the tool and rests it across his shoulder. The work, for now, is complete. The field grows quieter. Not empty, but settled. The farmer begins to walk. His steps are slow, unhurried, carrying him along the edge of the field. The ground beneath his feet feels different now, holding the warmth of the day, but already beginning to cool. He moves toward the animals. They are waiting, though not in any strict way. They simply remain where the rhythm of the day has brought them. He approaches calmly. There is no need to guide them forcefully. They respond to his presence. A subtle shift moves through the group. One begins to walk. Then another. Soon, the quiet movement spreads, and they begin to follow a familiar path back toward the longhouse. The farmer walks beside them. Not ahead. Not behind. Just near. The sound of their steps is soft. A gentle pressing of hooves against the earth. A quiet rhythm that blends with the fading wind. The sky begins to change. The blue softens. Hints of warmer tones appear near the horizon, faint at first, then slowly deepening. The sun lowers further. Its light stretches across the land in long, gentle rays. Everything feels slower now. More settled. The farmer continues walking. The animals move with him. Together, they cross the field, leaving behind the work of the day. There is no rush to return. No urgency to arrive. Only the steady motion of going back. The longhouse grows closer. Its shape becomes clearer. Smoke rises faintly once more, a thin line drifting upward into the softening sky. The breeze carries the scent of the fire. Warm. Familiar. The farmer reaches the enclosure. He opens it slowly. The wood moves with a quiet sound, worn and gentle. The animals enter. One by one. No pushing. No force. Only the quiet continuation of what has always been done. He watches until they are settled. Then he closes the enclosure. The sound is soft. Final, but not heavy. The day outside begins to fade. The light softens further. The shadows deepen. The farmer turns toward the longhouse. He walks slowly. The tool still rests on his shoulder. His steps are steady. The ground beneath him feels familiar, shaped by many days like this one. He reaches the doorway. The warmth from inside meets him gently. The fire glows. The quiet sounds of evening begin. He steps inside. And the day, slowly, quietly, begins to come to rest. The warmth inside the longhouse settles around him as he enters. It is not a sudden heat. It is soft, held within the thick wooden walls and the low, steady fire that has been tended throughout the day. The air carries the gentle scent of smoke, mixed with wool, wood, and the faint trace of food prepared earlier. The light inside is dim. It comes mostly from the fire, resting low in its place, glowing rather than burning brightly. The flicker is slow, casting soft movement along the walls, across the beams overhead, and along the floor of packed earth. The farmer pauses just inside the doorway. His eyes adjust to the dimness. There is no rush to move further. The quiet inside is different from the quiet outside. It is closer. Warmer. Held within the space rather than spread across the open land. Others are here. Their presence is calm. They move in small ways, tending to simple tasks that remain at the end of the day. A hand adjusting something near the fire. Another placing a wooden bowl aside. The soft shifting of fabric as someone settles into a resting place. No voices rise above a murmur. Nothing breaks the stillness. The farmer steps forward. He lowers the tool from his shoulder and places it carefully along the wall, where other tools rest. Each one has its place, worn smooth from years of being handled, used, and returned. He removes the outer layer of his clothing. The fabric is slightly rough, holding the warmth of the day and the faint scent of the field. He sets it aside gently, without carelessness. There is no disorder here. Only quiet arrangement. He moves closer to the fire. The warmth reaches him slowly, easing into his hands, his arms, his face. It is not strong, but steady, the kind of warmth that does not demand attention. He sits. The movement is slow. Deliberate. The ground beneath him is firm, but familiar. A simple meal is prepared. Nothing elaborate. Perhaps a small pot warmed again over the fire. Something that has been cooking gently, without haste. The scent rises softly, filling the space without becoming sharp. He receives his portion. A wooden bowl. A simple utensil. He holds it for a moment. The warmth spreads through his hands. He begins to eat. Each movement is quiet. Measured. There is no hurry. The food is plain, but it carries the comfort of routine. Grain, perhaps, softened by water. A trace of something preserved from earlier seasons. The taste is not strong. But it is enough. Around him, others eat as well. No one speaks loudly. The sounds are small. The soft touch of wood against wood. The quiet movement of hands. The faint shifting of bodies finding rest. The fire continues to glow. It does not flare. It remains low, steady, consistent. The farmer finishes his meal. He does not rush the last bite. He lets the moment settle. Then he sets the bowl aside. Carefully. As everything here is done. He leans back slightly. Not fully resting. Just allowing his body to ease. The work of the day remains in him. Not as strain. But as a quiet weight. A presence. Outside, the light continues to fade. The sky shifts further, moving from soft gold to deeper tones. The last traces of brightness linger along the horizon, slowly dimming. The air cools. The breeze becomes lighter. The land begins to rest. Inside, the longhouse grows quieter. Some movement remains, but it slows. One by one, small tasks come to an end. Objects are set in place. Hands grow still. The farmer remains seated. His breathing is slow. Even. His gaze rests softly toward the fire. The flicker of light moves gently, creating patterns that shift and fade again. There is no need to think ahead. No need to plan. The day has already unfolded. Everything that needed to be done has been done. The rest can wait. Time passes quietly. No one marks it. The fire is adjusted slightly. A piece of wood is placed carefully, allowing the glow to continue through the night without growing too strong. The light dims just a little more. The farmer shifts. He prepares to rest. The night settles slowly over the land. It does not arrive suddenly. It grows. The last light outside fades into a deep blue, then darker still. The shapes of the land soften, blending into shadow, until only faint outlines remain. Inside the longhouse, the fire holds its place. It glows low now. A quiet center of warmth in the dim space. The farmer lies down. His place is simple. A resting area prepared with materials that have been used many times before. Layers of fabric, perhaps wool, offering just enough softness against the firmness of the ground. He lowers himself carefully. There is no rush. His body settles. The weight of the day releases slowly. His hands rest by his side. His breathing deepens. Around him, others have already grown still. The small sounds of movement have faded. In their place, there is quiet. Not empty, but full in its own way. The fire makes a faint sound. A soft shifting. A gentle crackle that rises and fades. Outside, the wind moves lightly across the land. It touches the walls of the longhouse, passes over the roof, and continues on, carrying nothing with it. The animals rest. Their movement has slowed completely. They remain within their enclosure, still and calm, part of the same quiet night. The farmer's eyes close. There is no effort in it. The darkness is gentle. His breathing remains steady. Slow. Even. The day no longer asks anything of him. The work has ended. The rhythm has come to rest. The land continues without him now, held in the quiet stillness of night. The fire glows. The wind moves. The world remains. And within the longhouse, the farmer sleeps. Not deeply at first, but softly. Drifting. Carried by the same steady rhythm that guided the day. The night holds him. Calm. Unbroken. And the quiet continues, stretching gently forward, without urgency, without end, as the land and all within it rest together in the stillness of the dark. The night grows deeper now. It does not change quickly. It moves in a slow unfolding, like a breath that lengthens and softens until it is almost not noticed at all. Inside the longhouse, the fire has become smaller. Not weak. Just quiet. Its glow rests close to the embers now, casting only a low, steady light that barely reaches the far edges of the room. Shadows gather in the corners, not heavy or threatening, only present, like part of the structure itself. The farmer sleeps. His body is still. His breathing continues in a steady rhythm that matches the calm of everything around him. There is no movement from him now. Only rest. Around him, the longhouse holds its silence. Others sleep as well, their presence felt more than seen. The space is shared, but quiet. Each person resting in their own stillness, yet together within the same enclosed warmth. The fire shifts slightly. A small collapse of embers. A soft sound, almost like a whisper. Then stillness again. Outside, the wind moves gently across the land. It is cooler now. It passes over fields that have settled into darkness, over soil that has grown quiet after the day's work, over grasses that no longer move with the same energy as before. Everything outside is slower. Heavier. Resting. The sky is dark. Clouds drift without shape or urgency, covering the stars and revealing them again in slow intervals. The moon, if visible, rests low and calm, offering only a faint glow that does not disturb the night. Time passes without marks. There are no sounds of labor. No movement of work. Only the soft continuation of night. The farmer shifts slightly in his sleep. A small adjustment. A natural movement of the body as it rests. Then stillness returns. The longhouse creaks faintly. A sound from old wood settling into the coolness of night. It is not loud. It does not disturb. It belongs to the building as much as the beams and the fire itself. The air inside grows cooler. Not cold. Just cooler than before. The warmth of the fire remains, but it has less reach now, holding only the center of the space. The rest is quiet shadow. The night continues. There is no urgency in it. No direction. Only depth. Outside, the animals remain still. Their presence is quiet, their movements paused entirely. The enclosure holds them gently, and they, in turn, remain calm within it. The land around them is silent. The fields rest. The soil holds the memory of the day's turning but does nothing more. The farmer breathes steadily in his sleep. In. Out. Slow. Even. The rhythm of the day has not ended. It has simply changed form. No longer movement. Now stillness. A faint crackle rises from the fire again. A final small shift of wood. The glow dims slightly more, settling into a soft orange core that flickers gently and then steadies. The longhouse grows darker. Not fully dark. Just resting in shadow. The farmer remains asleep. His face calm. His body at ease. There is no sign of urgency in him now. Only rest. The night continues to stretch forward, unbroken and patient, carrying everything within it without effort. The wind outside slows even further. The world becomes almost motionless. Only the faintest movement remains barely noticeable, like the last breath before deep silence. Time does not feel like time here. It feels like space. Like still water. Like something that simply is. And so the night holds everything. The longhouse. The fire. The sleeping figures within. The fields outside. The farmer resting in quiet breath. All of it together, steady and calm, as the world continues its slow, peaceful turning beneath the deep, quiet sky. The night does not remain the same. It deepens, but in a way that is almost impossible to notice while it happens. Inside the longhouse, the fire has become only a faint, steady glow. A small collection of embers holds on to warmth, their light soft and low, barely reaching beyond the center of the room. Everything else rests in shadow. The farmer sleeps on. His breathing remains slow and even. There is no movement in him that suggests time passing. Only the quiet continuation of rest, as if the body itself has agreed to pause along with the world outside. Around him, the longhouse is still. The others who sleep share the same silence. No one stirs. No one speaks. The structure holds them gently, as it has done through many nights before this one, and many that will come after. Outside, the land is at its quietest. The fields are dark, their shapes softened until they blend into the wider landscape. The animals remain still, gathered in their resting place, their presence felt more than seen. The wind is almost gone now. It moves only in the smallest ways, brushing lightly against the earth before fading again. The sky above is heavy with darkness. Clouds drift slowly, though their movement is nearly impossible to perceive. Stars appear in brief moments, then disappear again behind the shifting veil above. Time continues. But it feels distant. Like something far away from the land itself. Inside the longhouse, the embers shift slightly. A faint glow brightens for a moment, then settles again. There is no flame now. Only the memory of fire held in warmth and light. The air is cool, but not cold. It carries the softness of deep night, when everything has already settled into rest. The farmer moves slightly in his sleep. A small shift of position. His hand relaxes further. Then stillness returns. The night continues its long, quiet passage. There is no sound of work. No movement of the day. Only the slow presence of rest that fills every space. Outside, a faint change begins. It is subtle at first. Almost unnoticeable. The darkness, which had deepened, now begins to hold itself differently. Not lighter yet, but less heavy in its stillness. The world is preparing, without announcement, for what will come next. Dawn has not arrived. But it is near. The farmer does not know this in thought. Only in the body's quiet rhythm, which remains steady even in sleep. In. Out. Slow. Even. The longhouse remains unchanged. The embers continue their quiet glow. No one wakes. The night is still present. But something within it has begun to shift. Outside, the sky slowly begins to lose its deepest edge of darkness. Not by much. Not yet visible unless one were to watch for a very long time. But the change is there. A soft easing of the night's hold. The land remains asleep. The fields remain still. The animals remain quiet. Everything is unchanged on the surface. And yet, beneath that stillness, the world begins to turn toward morning again. Inside, the farmer remains at rest. His body steady. His breath calm. The final hours of night pass without sound. Without movement. Without interruption. Only the quiet continuation of time, moving forward without hurry, without force, without notice. The embers dim further. Almost gone now. But still holding on. And as the deepest part of the night begins to soften ever so slightly, everything remains in place, waiting not with expectation, but with simple, quiet patience for the first return of light. The night begins to loosen its hold on the world. It is not sudden. It is not clear. It is only a quiet easing, like something very old slowly releasing its grip without ever announcing that it is doing so. Inside the longhouse, the embers remain low. Almost still. Their glow is faint now, holding only the smallest trace of warmth. The room is mostly dark, shaped by shadow and the soft outlines of wooden beams that have stood through many seasons. The farmer sleeps on. His breathing has not changed. It remains steady, slow, and deep, as if the night and his rest are still perfectly aligned. There is no urgency in his body. Only stillness. Around him, others continue to sleep as well. The longhouse is quiet in the way only deep night can make it complete, unbroken, and soft enough to feel like time itself has paused. Outside, the sky begins to change in ways too gentle to notice at first glance. The deepest black of night is no longer absolute. It holds a slight softness now. A faint thinning at the edges. The stars, once steady, seem less sharp, as though the sky itself is slowly preparing to shift. The wind is almost gone. It moves only in brief moments, touching the land and then disappearing again, as if unsure whether it is time to return. The fields remain still. The animals remain resting. Everything is as it was. And yet, something quiet is happening. The first suggestion of dawn is not light. It is patience. A soft waiting in the air. Inside the longhouse, the embers shift once more. A tiny collapse. A final settling of heat. The glow dims further, becoming almost imperceptible, but still present enough to hold a faint sense of warmth in the center of the space. The farmer moves slightly. Not waking. Only adjusting, as bodies do in deep rest. His shoulder turns a fraction. Then stillness returns. The night continues. But it is different now. Less heavy. Less deep. Like a slow breath that is reaching its final moment before release. Outside, the horizon begins to show the earliest hint of change. Not color yet. Not light. Only a subtle sense that the edge of the world is no longer as dark as everything above it. The sky and land are beginning to separate again. Slowly. Quietly. The longhouse remains still. No one wakes. The farmer continues to rest. His breathing remains the same. In. Out. Even. The final hours of night pass without sound. Without movement. Without interruption. Only the steady presence of time moving forward in its softest form. The embers fade further. Now only a trace. A memory of fire rather than fire itself. The room rests in near darkness. And yet it is not empty. It is full of quiet. Full of stillness. Full of the kind of calm that exists only when nothing is expected from the world. Outside, the sky continues its slow transformation. The darkness is no longer complete. It begins to feel thin in places, as if something beyond it is waiting just behind the surface. Still not visible. Still not present. But near. The farmer remains asleep. The longhouse holds him and the others in its steady quiet. And the land outside, still and patient, waits for the first moment when night will finally loosen fully, and the day will begin again. The night does not leave quickly. It never does. It fades in a way that is almost too gentle to notice, as if it is not ending at all, but simply becoming something softer, something thinner, something less heavy in its presence over the land. Inside the longhouse, there is now very little light left. Only the faintest memory of the fire remains in the embers. They no longer glow in a clear way. Instead, they hold a dim warmth, barely visible, like something resting at the edge of disappearance. The farmer sleeps on. His body is still. His breathing remains steady, unchanged through the long hours of night and into this quiet, turning moment. Around him, others remain asleep as well. The longhouse is quiet in its deepest form now. Not just silence, but a stillness that feels complete, as if even time itself is moving more carefully. Outside, the first real sign of morning begins to form. It is not light yet. It is something before light. A soft lifting in the darkness. A thinning at the far edge of the sky, where the night no longer feels as solid as it once did. The stars fade slightly, their sharpness easing, becoming less distinct against the slow shift above. The horizon begins to hold a faint sense of separation. Land below. Sky above. Slowly becoming distinct again after the long unity of night. The wind returns, but only in the smallest way. A gentle movement across the fields. It does not stir anything strongly. It only passes, like a quiet reminder that the world is still moving forward. Inside the longhouse, the embers remain. Almost gone now. Only a trace of warmth left, held deep within the ashes. The room is dim. Softly shadowed. But not cold. There is still the memory of the fire that carried the night through. The farmer shifts slightly. A small, natural movement. His hand relaxes further. His breathing continues in the same steady rhythm. In. Out. Slow. Even. There is no awareness of morning yet. Only rest. Outside, the sky begins to change in a way that is still subtle, but no longer hidden. The darkness is not as deep as before. It holds a softness now, a quiet transition that signals the return of light without revealing it fully. The land remains still. The fields lie quiet. The animals are motionless in their rest. Everything waits, not in anticipation, but in the natural stillness that comes before waking. Inside the longhouse, nothing moves. The people remain asleep. The structure holds them gently, as it has through the entire night, without change or effort. The embers finally dim further. Now almost indistinguishable from the ash around them. Only a faint warmth remains in the center of the fire's resting place. The farmer breathes slowly. His sleep continues undisturbed. Outside, the horizon begins to soften just a little more. A faint suggestion of shape appears along the edge of the land. Still no color. Still no sun. Only the quiet preparation of the world for the return of day. Time moves forward without sound. Without force. Without interruption. The night is nearly complete. But it has not yet fully released its hold. Everything remains in balance. Still. Quiet. Resting. And in that final stretch before morning, the world holds itself gently, waiting for the first true breath of light to arrive once again. The night is now at its thinnest point. Not gone. Not finished. But stretched into something delicate, as if it can no longer hold its own weight the way it once did. Inside the longhouse, there is almost no light at all. The embers have faded into a quiet ash bed, holding only a faint, lingering warmth deep within them. The space is shaped mostly by shadow now, soft and still, with only the outlines of wood and earth giving the room its quiet form. The farmer sleeps. His body remains calm, unchanged. His breathing continues in a slow, steady rhythm that has not shifted through the long hours of darkness. There is no sign that he is near waking. Only rest. Around him, the others remain still as well. The longhouse holds them all in its quiet shelter, unchanged and steady, as it has been through the entire night. Outside, the sky begins to change in a way that is now almost visible. The darkness is no longer complete. It has become softer, lighter at its edges, as if something beyond it is gently pressing forward without force. The horizon grows clearer. Not bright. Just clearer. The separation between land and sky becomes more distinct again, like a slow return of form after a long period of blending. The wind moves again. A little more than before. Still gentle, still quiet, but present now in a way it was not during the deepest part of the night. It passes over the fields, brushing the grass lightly, moving across the resting animals, and continuing onward without interruption. Inside the longhouse, the air is still cool. But it no longer feels like the deep cold of night. There is a subtle change now. A softness. A sense that warmth will soon return, though it has not yet arrived. The farmer shifts slightly. A slow, natural movement. His shoulder turns a fraction. His hand relaxes further into stillness. Then quiet returns. Outside, the horizon continues its slow transformation. A faint line begins to appear where the land meets the sky. It is not color yet. Not light in the way it will soon be. But a suggestion. A gentle presence forming at the edge of darkness. The stars fade further. Not disappearing all at once, but slowly losing their clarity, as if the sky is choosing to let them go one by one. The land remains still. The fields are quiet. The animals remain in their resting places, their forms unmoving in the soft pre-dawn stillness. Everything holds its position. Not waiting. Not expecting. Simply existing within the final moments of night. Inside the longhouse, the ash bed of the fire remains faintly warm. No new flame has risen. Only the memory of what was carried through the night. The farmer breathes steadily. In. Out. Slow. Even. The rhythm of sleep continues without interruption. The world outside grows slightly lighter again. Barely. But enough that the edge of things begins to return. Shapes become more defined. The horizon becomes more certain. The air begins to feel like it is preparing itself for change. Still no sunrise. Still no full light. Only the slow arrival of something that has not yet fully revealed itself. The night is almost complete in its passing. But not yet gone. Everything remains in a calm balance between darkness and the first quiet promise of day. And in this final stillness before morning, the world rests gently, holding its breath just a little longer before the light returns once again. The night finally begins to loosen its hold. Not all at once. Not in any clear moment that can be named. It happens the way most quiet changes happen here, slowly, gently, almost without permission. Inside the longhouse, the space is still dim. The fire has fully settled into ash now. Only a faint warmth remains, resting deep within the center where the embers once glowed. The air is cool, but not sharp. It carries the soft stillness of a night that is nearly finished. The farmer sleeps. His body is calm. Unmoving. His breathing continues in its steady rhythm, as if nothing in the world outside has changed at all. Around him, the others remain in rest. The longhouse is quiet in its most complete form, holding every sound within its wooden frame and letting none of it escape. Outside, the change becomes more visible. The horizon is no longer dark in the same way it was during the deepest night. There is a softness now. A faint lifting that spreads slowly across the edge of the world. It is still not light. But it is the beginning of light. The sky shifts in tone. The darkness loosens, becoming less dense, as if it is no longer holding itself together as tightly as before. The land begins to separate from the sky with more clarity. Fields, trees, and distant shapes become slightly easier to see, though still wrapped in shadow. The wind returns again. A little stronger than before. Still gentle, still quiet, but more present now. It moves across the grass, through the empty spaces of the field, and along the walls of the longhouse, as if checking the edges of the night one final time. Inside, the farmer shifts slightly. A slow movement. Natural. His arm settles into a more comfortable position. His breathing does not change. In. Out. Even. The rhythm of sleep continues without disturbance. Outside, the sky continues to brighten in the smallest possible way. It is not color yet. Not sunrise. Only a soft suggestion that light is preparing to return. The stars fade further, now barely visible. Not gone completely, but retreating into the thinning dark. The horizon grows clearer. A quiet line of separation becomes more defined, as though the world is gently unfolding itself again after a long period of stillness. The animals begin to stir faintly. Not yet moving, but shifting in place. A small adjustment. A brief change in posture. A sign that rest is nearing its end. The land remains calm. Nothing rushes. Nothing breaks the quiet. Inside the longhouse, the air holds a faint coolness. But even that begins to soften, as if the structure itself is slowly remembering the warmth that will return with the day. The farmer remains asleep. His face is calm. Untroubled. Still held within the quiet depth of rest. Outside, the first true hint of morning begins to arrive. Not light yet. But something just before it. A gentle clarity in the air. A sense that the world is no longer fully in night, even if the sun has not yet shown itself. The fields are still. The sky is shifting. The wind moves lightly across everything. And time continues forward in its slow, unbroken way. The longhouse remains quiet. The fire is only memory now. The night is nearly gone. And in this final, delicate space between darkness and day, everything waits softly, for the first real breath of morning to finally arrive. The change does not announce itself. It simply arrives, the way everything gentle in this place tends to arrive quietly, without urgency, without needing to be noticed in order to be real. Inside the longhouse, the darkness begins to soften. It is still dim, still quiet, but no longer deep in the same way it was through the night. The space feels more open now, as if the shadows themselves are loosening their grip on the wooden walls and the earth. The farmer sleeps. His breathing remains slow and even. There is no sign of waking yet. Only rest, held steady through the long passage of night into the first edge of morning. Around him, others remain still. The longhouse is calm in its early quiet, shaped by sleep and the faint return of light. Outside, the world begins to show itself more clearly. The horizon is no longer just a suggestion. It has taken form. A faint glow rests along the edge where land and sky meet, soft and pale, not yet warm with color, but no longer dark. The night has thinned. Not disappeared. But thinned enough that the world beneath it can be seen again. Fields take shape. Trees become more defined. The distant hills rise gently into view, their edges softened by the early light. The wind moves lightly across the land. It carries a cooler touch now, as if it has traveled through the last remains of night and come out into something new. Inside the longhouse, the air shifts slightly. Still cool. But changing. The kind of change that is so gradual it feels like memory returning rather than something happening. The farmer shifts again. A small, natural movement. His body settles deeper into rest for a moment, then becomes still once more. In. Out. Slow. Even. The rhythm continues. Outside, the sky brightens further. Not suddenly. Not sharply. But with a steady, patient unfolding. The darkness is now more gray than black. And within that gray, something softer begins to form. A hint of warmth. A faint, early tone that suggests the sun is near, though still hidden from view. The animals outside stir more noticeably now. Not yet rising. But preparing. A shift of weight. A brief lift of heads. A quiet awareness returning to their bodies as the night releases them. The land remains peaceful. There is no rush in anything. No sound of urgency. Only the steady return of motion after long stillness. Inside, the longhouse grows slightly brighter. Not from fire, but from the sky itself. The walls begin to reflect a faint, distant light, softening the shadows that once held them closely. The farmer's face is now faintly visible in the dimness. Still asleep. Still calm. The night is almost fully gone now. But it has not vanished abruptly. It has simply given way. Step by step. Moment by moment. Outside, the horizon begins to glow a little more clearly. The first suggestion of color appears barely there, a pale warmth spreading slowly across the edge of the world. The sun is still hidden. But its presence is becoming known. The wind carries that change gently across the fields. The grass moves slightly. The trees stand quietly. The land waits in its familiar stillness between night and morning. Inside the longhouse, everything remains quiet. The embers are long gone. Only the memory of warmth remains in the structure itself. The farmer continues to sleep. His body steady. His breath unchanged. The world around him is waking slowly, carefully, without disturbance. And in this soft transition, where night is no longer fully present and day has not yet fully arrived, everything rests in a quiet balance, as the first full light of morning begins its slow approach across the land. The light does not enter the world all at once. It arrives in layers. Soft, patient layers that spread across the land without breaking its quiet. Inside the longhouse, the change is subtle at first. The darkness that once filled every corner is now thinner, no longer pressing closely against the wooden walls or the packed earth floor. The shapes inside the room become more visible, not sharply, but gently, as if they are being remembered rather than revealed. The farmer sleeps on. His breathing remains slow. Unchanged. There is a deep steadiness in his rest, as though the long night has carried him carefully into this first edge of morning without disturbing him at all. Around him, others remain still. The longhouse holds its quiet warmth of shelter, even without fire, even without light. It is a warmth that comes from being enclosed, from being together, from the simple presence of structure against the open world outside. Outside, the sky continues to brighten. The grayness of early dawn begins to soften further. A faint wash of pale color spreads along the horizon, now subtle tones that suggest warmth is returning to the world. Not yet the full light of day, but the beginning of it. The stars are almost gone. Only a few remain, faint and uncertain, fading slowly as the sky becomes lighter with each passing moment. The land below responds quietly. Fields that were once swallowed in darkness now hold form again. The uneven textures of soil, the low lines of grass, the distant shapes of trees all return in gentle clarity, as if they had been waiting beneath the night to be seen again. The wind moves softly across everything. It is cooler now than it will be later, carrying the freshness of early morning. It passes without force, touching the land lightly before continuing onward. Inside the longhouse, the air begins to feel slightly brighter. Not warmer yet, but less enclosed. The darkness no longer feels complete. The farmer shifts slightly. A small, natural motion. His body settles, then becomes still again. In. Out. Slow. Even. The rhythm of sleep continues, steady and undisturbed. Outside, the horizon gains a little more color. A faint blend of pale gold and soft gray begins to form along the edge of the sky, subtle and quiet, still gentle enough that it does not demand attention. The sun is near, but not yet visible. The world seems to know this without needing to see it. The animals outside begin to stir more clearly now. Still not active. Still resting. But aware. Small movements ripple through them, adjustments, slight shifts in posture, the quiet readiness that comes before rising. The land remains calm. No sudden motion. No sound that breaks the stillness. Only the gradual return of life. Inside the longhouse, the shadows continue to retreat. Not quickly. Not completely. But enough that the space feels less enclosed, more open, more connected to the world outside. The farmer's face is now softly lit by the growing dawn. Still asleep. Still calm. The night is now nearly gone. It lingers only in memory, in the faint coolness that still rests in the air, in the last quiet corners where darkness has not yet fully dissolved. Outside, the sky brightens again. The pale tones deepen slightly, becoming more defined, more present. The edge of the sun's arrival is close enough now that the land seems to wait without knowing it is waiting. Everything remains still. Everything remains gentle. And in this quiet space between night and full morning, the world holds itself in soft anticipation, as the first true light of day prepares to rise over the land. The moment of change is so quiet that it almost feels like nothing has happened at all. And yet, everything has begun to shift. Inside the longhouse, the space is no longer dark in the same way it was through the night. The shadows are still present, but they are thinner now, softened at their edges by the steady return of daylight from outside. The farmer sleeps. His body remains still, resting in the same calm rhythm that has carried him through the night and into this early morning hour. There is no interruption in his breath. No sudden movement. Only the quiet continuity of rest. Around him, the others in the longhouse remain asleep as well. The structure holds them gently, as it always has, steady against the slow unfolding of the day. Outside, the sky continues to open. The horizon now carries a clear band of soft light pale gold blending into muted gray-blue. It stretches gently across the land, spreading wider with each passing moment. The darkness is no longer dominant. It has retreated into the upper sky, where it still lingers but no longer controls the view below. The fields are now visible in full outline. Not bright yet, but clear. The grass, the soil, the distant trees, all of it returns with quiet definition, as if the land itself is slowly remembering its shape. A faint breeze moves across the open space. It is cooler than what will come later in the day, but not harsh. It carries a sense of freshness, like air that has just been released from stillness. Inside the longhouse, a soft change continues. The interior is now gently illuminated by the returning light. Not directly. Not strongly. but enough that the wooden beams, the walls, and the resting shapes inside the space are more visible than before. The farmer shifts slightly. A small movement, natural and unforced. His breathing remains steady. In. Out. Slow. Even. The rhythm of sleep continues, uninterrupted by the world awakening around him. Outside, the sky brightens further. The pale gold along the horizon deepens slightly, becoming warmer in tone, though still gentle. It does not rush. It spreads evenly, as if the light itself is taking its time to arrive fully. The last remaining stars fade almost completely now. Only faint traces remain in the upper sky, quickly disappearing as morning takes hold. The land below is fully outlined. The fields are visible in soft detail. The animals begin to show more movement now, small shifts, quiet adjustments, a slow return of awareness after long rest. Still not active, but no longer completely still. Inside the longhouse, the atmosphere continues to brighten in a subtle way. The shadows retreat further into corners and behind objects, losing their depth. The farmer's face is softly illuminated now by the growing dawn. Still asleep. Still calm. The night has nearly completed its passage. But it has not ended abruptly. It has dissolved gradually, like mist lifting from the ground, revealing the world beneath it layer by layer. Outside, the horizon glows a little more strongly. The first hint of the sun's approach is now unmistakable, though the sun itself is still hidden just below the edge of the world. Everything feels suspended in that quiet moment before arrival. The land is still. The air is still. The longhouse remains still. And in this gentle pause between darkness and full morning, the world waits together softly, quietly as the first full light of day prepares to rise. The waiting does not last in any noticeable way. It simply gives way. Inside the longhouse, the soft gray that filled the space begins to warm. The shadows lose their depth, thinning further until the room feels less like a place held by night and more like a place slowly returning to the world. The farmer remains asleep. His breathing is unchanged. Still slow. Still steady. There is a calmness in his rest that matches the land outside, as if both are moving in the same quiet rhythm without needing to speak. Around him, others continue to sleep as well. The longhouse holds them all in a shared stillness, even as the world beyond it grows brighter. Outside, the horizon finally shifts. The pale gold that had been spreading so gently now strengthens. It deepens. It warms. And then, at last, the first visible edge of the sun appears. Not fully risen. Not yet high. Just a soft arc of light emerging from behind the land, touching the world with the beginning of true day. The fields respond quietly. The grass now holds color again. The soil shows its full texture. The trees stand clearly against the sky, no longer silhouettes but living forms with shape and depth. The wind carries this change across everything. Still gentle. Still calm. But now moving through a world that is fully awake in light. Inside the longhouse, the change becomes unmistakable. Light enters the space more directly now, no longer only a reflection from the sky but a presence that reaches inside. The wooden walls glow softly in the morning light. The floor shows its worn texture. The sleeping figures inside are now clearly shaped by the daylight. The farmer shifts. A deeper movement this time. Not waking yet. But no longer as deeply still as before. His hand relaxes, fingers opening slightly. His breathing remains steady. In. Out. Slow. Even. Outside, the sun rises further. It clears the edge of the horizon slowly, revealing more of its light to the land. The sky transforms. The soft gold expands into a broader warmth, blending with pale blue as the morning fully forms. The night is gone now. Not lingering. Not holding on. It has completed its passage. The animals outside begin to rise. Not all at once, but gradually. One by one. They move from rest into slow motion, stretching into the morning, adjusting to the return of full daylight. The land feels active again, but not rushed. Everything moves in its own time. Inside the longhouse, the farmer's face is now fully lit by morning light. The shadows that once surrounded him have retreated completely. Still, he sleeps. Peacefully. Uninterrupted. The fire is gone. The embers are gone. Only the structure remains, holding the memory of warmth from the night before. Outside, the sun climbs higher. Its light spreads evenly across the fields, now fully revealed in the calm of morning. There is no urgency in the world. Only continuation. The farmer remains asleep for a few final moments as the day fully establishes itself around him. Then, slowly, naturally without force or suddenness, his breathing shifts slightly, as if his body is preparing to return. The night is finished. The morning has arrived. And the world, in its steady and gentle rhythm, continues forward once again. The day is now fully present. No part of the night remains except memory, held quietly in the walls of the longhouse and in the stillness of bodies that have just begun to stir again. The farmer wakes slowly. There is no sharp moment of awakening. Only a gradual return. His breath deepens first, then steadies. His body shifts, not in urgency, but in the natural way of something returning to awareness after long rest. Light fills the longhouse now. Soft morning light, steady and calm, moving across the wooden beams and the packed earth floor. It does not feel new or strange. It feels familiar. Like something that has always been there and simply returned. Around him, others begin to wake in the same quiet way. No one speaks loudly. No movement breaks the calm. The longhouse is not divided between night and day in a sudden line. It transitions gently, as everything in this place always does. Outside, the world is fully awake. The fields stretch out under the morning sun, open and still. The animals move slowly again, returning to their place in the rhythm of the land. The wind passes in soft intervals, never lingering too long. Everything continues. Not quickly. Not loudly. Just steadily. The farmer sits for a moment before rising. He does not rush to the work yet. There is always this small space at the beginning of the day. A quiet pause between sleep and labor. A moment where nothing is required. Only presence. He breathes in the morning air that comes through the doorway. It is cool. Clean. Familiar. The same air that has always returned after every night. The same world continuing as it always has. He stands. Slowly. Naturally. And steps toward the doorway. Outside, the sun is higher now, but still gentle. The land is bright, but not harsh. The day is not demanding anything quickly. It simply exists. Waiting to be lived. The farmer looks across the field. The same field he worked yesterday. The same land that will be worked again today. There is no sense of beginning or ending here. Only continuation. The cycle is quiet. Simple. Steady. He moves forward. Not in hurry. Not in hesitation. just in rhythm with the land beneath him. And as he steps into the morning again, the world remains what it has always been in this story: calm, ordinary, and endlessly continuing, without needing to be anything more. And so the day begins again, in the same quiet way it always has.